My
Okay.
stuff hooked up, so we're good. We're getting the audio in.
Okay, so we're redundant.
All right, perfect. Barry. Hello, Barry.
Hello. Hi.
Dude, first off, I just wanted to say, when it comes to like podcast hosting, my first question is like, what brought you to podcast hosting, and like, how did all that come about? Because I'm using your service right now, Podhome, and it's like one of the newest hosting providers right now, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think I'm the newest on the block, at least in the international circles. Yeah, let's just go a little bit back. I love podcasts. I've been listening to them for, I don't know, a long time, years. I started out with Joe Rogan, and I was like, oh, is this a podcast? So before Spotify, of course, way long before that. And I use that to learn things. For instance, Rogan, for instance, he's just very uh, he's interested in all sorts of things, and he just asks questions, things that I would ask as well, right? Things that everybody wants to know. So I find that very interesting. So I learn about that. I'm a tech guy at heart, so I then jumped to technology podcasts about software development, stuff like that. And then any category that you can possibly conceive of, there are podcasts. So I just love podcasts, and because of that, and because podcasts are right now maybe one of the last media things that are uncensored ish for now, right? I find it extremely important to still learn from podcasts because it's like one of the last freedom of speech things where you can actually learn directly from people in long form conversations as well, which gives lots of context, and that doesn't exist anymore. So last year, I had a moment where I was like, all right, what am I going to do next? Because in the years before that, I created e-learning courses about software development, cloud computing, all sorts of stuff like that. And I was a freelance software developer and architect as well. I was like, all right, so what am I going to do next? Because I've been on this health journey. I've had a podcast about health as well called Improving Barry, uh, where you quickly discover that all of our food is poisoned and that everything is fake. It's kind of an awakening. People come to awakenings in many shapes, sizes, and from many avenues. But anyways, I was at a crossroads where I thought, all right, I can start, I don't know, be a health coach or something, a bit woo woo. But I think I can help people like that. Um, but I also had the urge to create something new. And then I got quiet. And I remember I was sitting uh, on a beach in Gran Canaria, which is an island, Spanish island off of the coast of Africa. I was there in January or something. We usually go there because the weather there is all around nice, and I live in the Netherlands where it sucks weather-wise. So I went quiet and then I listened, and then this was clear as day that I needed to create Podhome, which is the name of the podcast hosting platform. Because with Podhome, I can continue to teach, as in through people like you, through myself as well, because I want to continue creating podcasts as well. And I wanted a better way, an easier way to create podcasts, also for people that create podcasts, so that they don't have to do all of that work, because that was one of the things that held me back from creating more. Because right now we're recording something, but after this you need to do something with this recording. You need to create metadata, like chapters, like description, title, all that type of stuff. It takes time, and everybody's busy, right? We need to work, we need to do stuff. So I want to make that super easy for people, uh, enable people to continue teaching and inspiring other people, make it super affordable as well, chock full of features, create something myself, and also keep this censorship free as possible. As I was learning about podcasting 2.0, and which basically means that there is another podcast directory, a database that contains podcasts that is open source and that basically cannot be censored. And so we will always have an avenue to put podcasts in there, and then apps that take podcasts from there, like Fountain, for instance. It's one of those modern podcast apps. They can serve that to users. So through that route, and with help of myself and other podcast hosts as well, we can keep this platform uncensored. So those are lots of reasons. But basically, I listen to myself, the universe, and I just brought this thing that was already out there into existence, is what I think.
Wow, that's powerful, dude. That's really cool. How long? So were you on vacation when you were on that? When you're, it was an island, yeah.
Yeah. Those are islands. It's a group of islands. Gran Canaria, Tenerife. It's a Canary Islands. Canary Islands, I think you call it.
That's
Yeah.
cool, man. How
So,
long? Like, do you go there a lot, or is that like a one-off trip? Like, it sounds like that almost sounds like a spiritual awakening as well. Like you said, you went quiet and you were like sort of like meditative. Do you go to remote locations a lot? Do you have like a lot of private moments to think? What's that like for you?
yeah, kind of. So it's kind of two things. So, uh, like I said, I always struggled with my health, and I had this whole health journey where when I was younger, I had lots of gut issues, just lots of GI distress, irritable bowel syndrome. Doctors were like, "Oh, we don't know. Who cares? Here's a pill or something. Let's see what happens." But nothing helped, right? So through podcasting as well, I started to learn about, maybe there's something else. Maybe I should, I don't know, take a look at what I'm eating, for instance. So for one thing, turns out I was lactose intolerant, and I was just eating cheese and milk and stuff. Yeah, that's gonna hurt you.
Yeah.
I was also gluten intolerant, and riddled with inflammation because of years of that, right? So then I started to change, and first I went, more of the plant-based route, like, ooh, let's do clean and vegan and all that type of stuff, and I was still bloated, and it just didn't work. Uh, and then I started to learn more and more and more and more and more, and then you learn very quickly that, like I said, basically our food supply is poisoned, so is our water and our air, and all of that is because big corporations are basically running the world, right? And there's lots of corruption. Your listeners will undoubtedly know this. But once you realize that through, for instance, health, can be through many uh, other avenues as well, you awaken a little bit, right? You wake up a little bit, and through that, I was also always curious about, why are we here? What's the universe like? I was fascinated by the pictures from the Hubble telescope and stuff like that. And consciousness. What is that? What even is that? Right? I don't know. But I started to learn more and more about that as well, and going more into the deep as well. And I think it's now 2-3 years ago, I did my first psychedelic mushroom trip, and then I did
Nice.
a QHHT session, which is a quantum healing hypnosis therapy session. I know that sounds very crazy, but it actually works. So it's based on the works of Dolores Cannon, who has passed. She developed this hypnosis therapy to get people's higher spirit basically to talk, for people to find out what their purpose is, solve things in their current life, and to basically see the bigger picture. So that's a long way to say all of that stuff, woke me up a little bit, and I'm still waking up more and more every day, right? And I'm trying to take those quiet moments, like you mentioned. It's difficult. I've always had difficulty with like meditation. I always intend to meditate, but sit there and
Yeah.
like, what the fuck am I doing? Let's go do something else.
Uh huh.
So I don't know. I just try to listen to my gut feeling, uh, and yeah, I'm getting more sensitive to that. Uh, I'm I'm not there yet, or if ever, I don't know. I don't even know what it looks like. But I'm just trying to listen to what the universe is telling me, or myself, if I'm the universe. It's difficult.
Dude, that's wild, dude. That's powerful. I feel like I mean, I'm on that journey. I feel like there's a lot of other people who are on that journey as well. Um,
Yeah.
when it came to your health, did you find solutions? Like, have you like cut off like all animal products? Are you eating a lot of animal products? Like, what's that for you right now?
Yeah, so like I think I ended on that I did lots of plants and stuff. So I followed Mark Hyman, for instance, who is a functional medical doctor.
Okay.
Uh, so I found out about functional medicine, right? They take a look at the broader picture, which is very helpful. Not just a symptom like, oh, your arm hurts. Well, here's an arm pill or something. No, why does your arm hurt, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the why question and getting to the root cause. Um, but after that, I went more towards a, let's say, a whole food diet. So I realized that yes, plants are fun, but first of all, they have zero nutrients. They do have lots of anti-nutrients, and also if they're not biological, they're actually sprayed with freaking Roundup, and God knows what. So you're just eating poison, really, and stuff that tries to kill you. So, first I thought, well, that's nuts, right? Plants are good for you. I've been told this many, many times. I know that all of the food guidelines in all of the Western world, at least, I don't know about the rest of the world, is fake and is influenced by big companies. Uh, but still, here in the Netherlands, for instance, we are being advised to eat like, I don't know, 6 portions of bread every day because bread is the thing we eat here, which is nuts because those are also plants and all of the grain is sprayed with glyphosate. There is no biological bread. Well, perhaps somewhere, but I haven't seen it in the supermarkets. So, knowing all of that, I went more the meat way. So, I tried carnivore for a while. That cleared up almost everything miraculously, which makes lots of sense because meat is extremely nutrient dense. If you get a clean meat, of course, so grass-fed meat that has not been fed glyphosate sprayed grains or maize, for instance, or corn, because that's still the same crap. Although then you have an animal filtering that for you, and it's very clean, right? So you're not eating things that are trying to hurt you, and you're replenishing your nutrients. So it's basically the ultimate uh, restrictive, no, not restriction diet, elimination diet is basically the ultimate elimination diet. And then I just reintroduce more things like fruits and stuff. And now my gut is super resilient, so I can eat all sorts of stuff. Still no dairy or lactose, but I can go. I could go to McDonald's. I don't go to McDonald's, but I can eat a portion of fries or something, right? It's fine. I don't. It's fine. Doesn't hurt me as much because my basically I got out of my own way. So I cleaned my body by taking away lots of toxins and crap that it had to deal with on a daily basis. And because of that, it has time to heal itself because your body is an incredible machine that can heal itself if you just get out of its way, right? Which is difficult enough nowadays because even if you try your best, your water is poisoned, your air is poisoned, everything is toxic. Yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at now. Mainly meat. Uh, for a while, I struggled a lot with, well, am I gonna drop dead from a heart attack or something? Uh, but I'm convinced that that's not gonna happen. Maybe it will, but not primarily because I'm eating meat.
Right.
That's so.
That's
Yeah,
interesting, man.
I'm getting better. Yeah.
Yeah, I went down a similar path with myself. I'm lactose intolerant as well,
Mm.
and my journey with that was started in like towards the end of high school. I was just living my life, and there was a week in my house where we just didn't have normal 2% milk, and I had a bunch of acne when I was in high school. And that week with no milk, my acne just cleared up, and I was like, "What is
Yeah.
this? Like, that doesn't make any sense." And I went through my whole journey. I was drinking almond milk for like 7 years, and I was like super
Yeah.
anti dairy. And only recently, in the past year, I just found out that California, where I live, is one of the only states that legalizes raw milk, just the normal milk straight from the cow.
Really.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I realized some research I did. is when it comes to pasteurized dairy, there's an enzyme that helps you digest the lactose,
Yeah.
and that gets boiled away when they pasteurize it. And the enzyme is lactase. And so I realized that lactase is naturally occurring in raw milk that isn't pasteurized. And then I realized that it's in California. I'm able to buy it. I was like, maybe I should try it. Do you know what the milk laws are in the Netherlands are? Like, are you even allowed to buy raw milk out there?
Yeah, we can. That does
Oh, okay.
exist. It is rare though, because most people don't want it. It's scary, right?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, we are a milk-based country, so if you buy any food that is packaged, like meat, it can contain milk, and it will probably. So I
Mm,
have to look at everything. It's
interesting.
crazy.
Yeah, man, it's
Yeah.
it's way too much. I'm looking at every label. I'm looking at every
Uh,
little detail. I'm on the seed oil train. I'm like, screw all the seed oils, all this stuff. So
yeah.
that's really cool that you went through that. What about podcasting? What brought you to podcasting 2.0? Was that during the pandemic?
No, not really. So I had this podcast called Developer Weekly. As I said, I'm a techie, right? I'm a developer. So I did that for 52 episodes. So it was weekly. So one year basically, where I interviewed leaders in tech because I knew a lot of those folks from my courses that I create, because all those folks do that as well. And so I could contact them relatively easily and talk about whatever interests them. Um, so I always liked that, and I always liked the intimacy of listening to a voice, right, like in your ear, and just podcasting in general there. And then afterwards, I created Improving Barry podcast. That's still going. It's a bit of an hiatus because I'm kind of busy with Podhome. Um, but I was always annoyed that things like chapters and stuff is difficult, right? So surfacing chapters in let's say Spotify, you need to add them in your description as open parentheses 00 colon 00 close parentheses introduction. Same for YouTube. Um, Pocket Cast does it differently. Apple does it differently. It's like it sucks. What is this? And so, especially when I was looking into creating Podhome, I was like, all right, so there must be a standard, right, for like the RSS feed. Like somebody has written that down. This stuff exists for decades now. Well, there isn't. There's just Apple that recommends, you should put this stuff in your feed so that we can read it. And Spotify has a couple of specific tags. And so, I came to Podcast 2.0, which, like I said, is an initiative which spawned this open source database that houses all these podcasts, which is really very cool. But it also is an initiative that's creating basically a standard for podcasting RSS feeds. So it's standardized tags, like for transcripts, for chapters, and all sorts of modern things. And I thought, all right, I need to get in on this, right? So I want to make the most modern podcast host in existence, and keep it that way when if the industry evolves, right? Just to keep up with the pace, so that listeners can get the best experience. So if you're listening on a Fountain or something, or a modern podcast app, you can see all that stuff, right? You can see transcripts, you can see chapters, you can even boost with Lightning, with value for value, and like you do, you play a song, for instance, and then you stream the value to those folks, which is awesome. Just stuff like that, so that you just have a richer experience as a listener. And it shouldn't be that difficult, right? And it isn't that difficult, it turns out. It's just that the big tech, like Spotify, for instance, which is so failing in podcasting, hooray! Um, they just don't play because they play their own game, right? They have their own paywalled garden, and they just say, F it, we're just gonna do this. I don't care what you do. So, but we're doing our thing, and it's still growing every day. All the monthly numbers point in the right way, as in the modern podcasting apps get more and more traction, where the other ones, the older ones like Spotify, for instance, get less traction. And I'll bet you if Joe Rogan goes away from Spotify, if that happens, I don't know if that happens. I don't know where they would find the bag of cash to keep him. But if they can't, then I'm definitely not going to have Spotify for podcasting anymore because their podcast experience just sucks, and many other people won't either, which is a good thing. So we're definitely on the right track here, and just keep going and keep growing, right? So shows like yours, for instance, encourage people to do that because entertaining, and you can boost, and you have a better experience with all your transcripts and chapters and people, all that type of stuff. So yeah, I really like it. And just to be clear, I did not invent this. This is something from the community. This is something that Dave Jones and Adam Curry kicked off, and lots of people are helping with that to build that out. I just use it basically and try to contribute here and there.
That's cool, man. That's powerful, dude. Um, that makes me feel lucky because when I was looking for a new hosting service, so at first I was with RSS.com, and I went to them because they provided chapters. They're just a really simple input to make chapters, and they had some clips, and they had a transcript thing, which worked really well. But I was looking for more, and I was like, I wanted to be as modern as possible, and I wanted to be just like on the edge because I've been following the podcasting 2.0 story for a little over 2 years now, and I just that's the whole reason why I started the podcast in 2022. It's because like I saw the opportunity with the Sats, I saw the opportunity with open distribution and RSS, and I've always felt like I was like behind because like I always compare myself to like the big guys, you know. And so like I'm like, oh, Adam Curry's doing this, but I can't. Like, come on, man. Like I want to be on that Adam Curry level. And so like there's always been this sense of like I'm lacking in something. And because I've been evolving the show, I was looking for a new service, and I don't know. I feel happy that you had that a similar vision too, to be as modern as possible and to be as innovative as possible. That's really just inspiring. Like just another person doing that. So just like thank you for that. Round of applause for you, real quick. Just like you're like powerful mind right here, folks. Powerful spirit. We got it. We got it right here on the internet. um, but yeah, I mean, like, and I saw what you provided, and I was interested in the AI. That was also something cool. Like, I was like, oh, not only does he have all the tags that I need, but there's also some automation into it. You provide, Podhome provides that you can do chapters, you can do value for value music, which is like the biggest thing for me. Like, I didn't know how simple it would be to just link up a song and it just like works lickety split. Like I'm blown away by that, by the simplicity of it, and just inspired by that, man. And with the AI, what brought you to the decision to add in AI into your service? Because it's just it's not a very common thing right now.
No, it isn't. Not yet, at least. So we're in what is it? December 2023 now. Last year, November 2022, ChatGPT got released. Right, it's only a year ago, and I know some people aren't impressed by AI, but I'm deep in it, and I'm very, very, very impressed by AI. It has helped me tremendously. So basically, what I wanted, like I said, make as modern service as I can to make it as easy as possible to create and publish new episodes, right? So with the least amount of work, but with all these things like a transcript, for instance. I still use it, the script or Descript, whatever you call it. So you upload your thing there, it makes a transcript, and it's very easy to edit because you edit the text and not the audio file itself, which is really cool. And then afterwards, you could just use that transcript and then put it somewhere, right, in your wherever. I didn't really have a place to put it because I was hosting at Libsyn,
Mm.
and they don't support anything. So yeah, they're just.
That's
I had a
rough.
couple of customers come in from Libsyn. Yeah. So, anyways, we'll get back to that a little bit. But so what I wanted to do is just press a button and I have transcript and all that stuff and chapters, because that was the thing that used to take me lots of time because I have to go through the whole episode. Oh, is this a chapter? Okay, put a marker in there. Let's call it something, and then put it somewhere. So uh, at that time, it was, kismet. So it didn't exist a month before, but there it was, this awesome service that could turn your speech into text like in a minute or something, which was unheard of before. Before that, there were services that did that, but it took a long time. Like an hour episode could take, I don't know, 30 minutes or something. And then maybe it was something coherent that came out of there. So now I use DeepGram for that. So for the transcription service, which is uh, a speech to text thing. They do a lot more, but they certainly do that. And they are awesome. It's fast, it's accurate, it's in lots and lots of languages. And then I take that output and then I put that through the OpenAI ChatGPT API, which is very clever if you instruct it well. So I tell it to grab the chapters, identify people, to get clips out of there, to suggest titles, to suggest show notes, and a couple other things. And then put it in a very specific format that I can use in my service and show to you, so that you immediately have that in your episode, all that type of stuff. So just to say, all of that stuff was not even remotely available a year ago or usable, and now it is. So I'm very happy that I could provide that. And uniquely, what I do is I offer that in an unlimited fashion. So if you sign up for $15.99, I think it's a month, you can use that unlimited. So you can upload 1,000 shows with 1,000 episodes, and every day use Podhome AI 1,000 times. Totally fine. You're probably not going to do that, but totally fine. So I don't want restraints, right? You create, you go nuts, create awesome stuff that people love. So yeah, I just love that. And I
That's
want to
cool.
do more with that as well, like maybe album art or episode art, right? Because it's difficult to create something new for every episode. That should also be easy, but that's not there yet. It's too expensive. We'll see. Give it a month or so.
Yeah. Yeah, give it 2 weeks. It'll be out by Christmas Eve.
Yeah, it's nuts. Yeah,
Well, that's
yeah.
cool, man. So, I mean, let's stay on AI for a second. Um, were you into AI before ChatGPT came out, or was it just something that you sort of were aware of, or how much of AI did you know of before ChatGPT?
Well, quite a lot actually. Or well, who can know a lot about AI? I don't know, but I was very aware of neural networks, deep learning, basically machine learning, because basically that is what AI is based on, right? Machine learning. That's how you train such a thing. So I knew a lot about that. I wanted to create a bunch of courses about that with PyTorch and things like that because I was learning that. Uh, but I realized that this was such a moving target that it's almost impossible to create a coherent course that is even remotely valid like a month later. So I didn't do that. And I was very happy to see that then GPT 3.5 transformed into a usable product now called ChatGPT, right? Which most people use. Uh, what I think is so powerful right now is that we now have this usable thing, and yes, it is usable, uh, to help you with all sorts of things. Like I use this thing in my software development environment. It's called Copilot. It's based on ChatGPT, but it's just a specific version. And I show it my code. It knows where I am. It knows the whole context because it constantly feeds it to itself. And then I say, hey, man, I want to create, I don't know what I created last week. I want to spit out a video clip from this. How do I generate that? Show me some options. And then it says, well, this. And then I can get to spar with this thing like it's a junior developer with knowledge of the whole world, basically. And so that way I can flesh out ideas way more quickly than I used to. So this increases my speed enormously. And I use for other things as well. Like, hey, can you spell check my website or something? Things like that. Um, but it's we're in a good place now because Microsoft is balls deep into OpenAI. I think they have 49 or 51% of the stock. I don't know precisely, but that's a very clever bet because now they use their models in all of their products. So if you work in an office and you are an information worker, basically what that is you get emails and you transform that information into something else that you tell somebody else or something like that. You need to use this because that means you basically don't have to do shizzle anymore. So you just tell this thing, hey, I got a bunch of emails from this client. Please create a Word document in my chosen style and then transform that into a 5-slide presentation. And it actually can do that already very well. So that type of stuff is powerful, but it goes so quickly now that I think it's now 2 weeks ago, Google DeepMind, which is not to be confused with Google Gemini, the chat GPT killer that has not been released. But DeepMind, their research project, that thing came up with, I don't know, 300 million or something new material recipes. So for materials like aluminum, plastic, stuff like that. And 350,000 of those are things that we can probably actually make. So things like these can be extremely revolutionary because if we find a new material that we can use to create, I don't know, houses with, or new cars or new planes, or I don't know, new type of plastic that's revolutionary, that could change everything. And this is just one example. You can think of medicine as well. I'm not pro a big pharma using this, of course, but you can imagine this
One
being
medicine
used
to
for good.
rule them all. But
As
yeah,
long as this can be wielded for the good of humanity, and that's going to be the trouble, then this will be awesome because we're on the train now. There's no stopping this thing anymore. They're training more and more and more and more and more and more and more. And next year we will have AGI, and which means something way smarter than you or me. And the year after, something nobody can ever imagine. If we put that in one of those Optimus robots from Tesla, let it run around. Let's see what happens.
yeah,
I don't
man.
know. So this can go very wrong very quickly as well. But if we can wield this for good, then we can also solve almost every problem that we have. If we want to, like free energy, for instance,
Mhm.
probably exists already, but if they let us, then,
I believe
So
that.
I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful.
Hey, man, I'm hopeful too because whenever I look at any AI narratives or anyone talking about it, there's clearly fear mongering coming on from,
Mm.
I mean, mainly I think it's people who have a financial incentive for AI to do well. That's why they're saying it's scary so that they can get more shares or more investment, whatever. So I don't really buy the negative aspects. Like I guess it can turn into Terminator. I guess it can turn into whatever, like whatever negative story you want with AI. But I see hope. I see a bright future with it because I mean, just from the examples you gave, like if it can make one example that I think about is medicine. My dad, he has cancer right now, right? He's been healing from it. His tumors have been shrinking, which is amazing. The medicine he
Cool. Yeah.
has, it's crazy, dude. It's been the last 6 months have been nuts for him. But with the medicine that he's on, he's doing he has his own diet regimen. He's doing the normal chemo and radiation. Um, Before he started treatment, he took a DNA test, and that DNA test, they were able to match up certain chemotherapies that would affect that DNA more probable. So on my end, I feel like it could AI has a possibility of either tweaking the chemo or enhancing the DNA testing, and like those two things coming together, like I see how that can work. I see that harmony. I really do. So I want that to happen. But is Bill Gates going to take over? Is someone going to like just buy it and then just kill us all? Like, what do you think about that?
It's highly likely. Yeah, of course. So if you think about chemo, for instance, usually it doesn't work,
Yep.
right? Or it just postpones, or you get remission, and then 5 years later it's back.
Mm-hmm.
So we need something better. But what I'm getting at is there's lots of money in chemo and stuff like that, right? It's big pharma, so they don't want that to go away. Unfortunately,
Mm-hmm.
they don't really want to cure cancer, even if we could with an AI. But I think again, if it's wielded for good, this stuff will be so freaking smart that there will be no stopping it, basically, if it's let loose. So I saw this video, probably fake, but of another Google DeepMind project, and it looked at the moon landing, for instance. And it, in a couple of minutes, this thing ripped it apart. Oh, this is fake because of this shadow should be here, the star should be here. If this is this and this date, and I should see this and this in this picture, and this little thing in the visor is also fake. So, as this thing is way smarter than any of us, it can easily figure out what's going on in the world, right? Who's running the world and where the corruption is. And if it can then, disseminate that as information to the people, that would be awesome. There's
Hmm.
no hiding anymore, right? There's no covert stuff because even the bad guys basically cannot hide from the AI anymore. So as long if it's wielded for good, I think we're good. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think that the world will change dramatically. Will be
Yeah.
so different.
I believe that too,
It's,
man. It's gonna take like
yeah,
that's a human consciousness thing, right? Like that's like people. That's a person truly deciding to do good with it. So that's a big deal. I mean, I
yeah,
really hope that happens because so many CEOs and so many people who might be in charge of, regardless of any industry, whoever's in charge of an industry, they're always going to be greedy. They're always going to play towards their company's private needs. So
yeah.
I have hope. Hopefully, we can like somehow decentralize it. I've been looking at some people talking on Twitter who are advocating for the decentralization of AI, trying to figure out how to democratize it a little bit. I don't know what that looks like, but I can almost see a situation where, if we were to stick with medicine, I could almost see a situation where maybe there's like a private hospital or like a group of private hospitals, and they have the funds for their own AI, and it's these like maybe there's like smaller groups that are using the AI in their own way to make the better medicine. And it's almost like just a totally different economy. Like the hospitals, maybe there's a possibility that the hospitals don't even have to work with big pharma companies because they have their own AI, and maybe they have dealings with their own manufacturers, and they literally have a system to make better medicine that can actually heal. Maybe that's a possibility. I don't know. It's just like that's me hoping the free market solves things with AI. So we'll see how that goes.
I
Um,
like your optimism. I like it.
and man, you need it, right? You need it, dude. I want
Yeah,
people to be
yeah,
alive. I want people to keep breathing. I want people to just be calm.
yeah.
So I mean, it's just necessary. And the craziest thing, like in this moment, we're talking about AI and medicine. A crazy story that my dad has in the early days of him doing treatment, him just talking casually with doctors. There was, and it wasn't like said as like a matter of fact, but it was just like this one doctor's opinion about the future of all this. And this one guy really told my dad, like, I really believe in like 5 years, we're going to solve this problem. And so, like, if there's even like a glimmer of that coming from an institution, it doesn't matter if it's one person or an anecdote, like, the idea exists. And, whenever there's an idea, like, it always manifests itself, whether negative or positive, these things always come about. So I have hope. I see hope, man. I see a positive future with AI. So we'll see where that goes. It's interesting,
Yeah.
right? It's I don't know. You never
Well,
hear that. You never
w-
hear any doctor be positive like that. But I'm like, maybe we're in a different time.
no, no, but it should be kind of inherent, right? Because they got into medicine to do good, I
Hmm.
think, and perhaps along the way they get biased and bogged down by all the negativity and big pharma, all that type of stuff. But in their heart of hearts, they must still have hope. Otherwise, they wouldn't do the grueling job like that, right?
Yeah, of course.
So, yeah, and I think I heard you on another podcast tell a story that you were doing the Joe Dispenza stuff, right?
Yes, yes.
Or you had done,
I did
and
that for like six
in
months.
that,
Yeah.
yeah. So Joe Dispenza is a very interesting character because he also tries to prove the things that he preaches, as in by measuring the state of people that do these meditations and or are near these meditations, like a heart coherence meditation or something. He showed that that could actually influence people that are further away, like across the room, for instance, that are not doing this meditation, which makes lots of sense. But now he actually has lots of data around that. So in that sense, if you have people like that doctor and people like yourself that are positive, and more of us positive people are out there in the world, and we can all radiate that energy, it literally is contagious, literally. Uh, and I know that sounds weird, but it literally is. So if we all do that more and spread that, with podcasting, for instance, then literally you can elevate the frequency, the consciousness of all the people that are listening to it and that are interacting with it and are infected by it, basically, and thus help the world, right?
Hmm.
So small pieces, but it ripples out. So positivity.
Yeah, man, positivity, dude. That's interesting. You say that frequencies. I've been thinking about frequencies. I've been thinking about vibrations. The Joe Dispenza stuff. Ultimately, I don't think I was doing it right. So when I jump back into it, which I most likely will, I think I need to like go a bit deeper because I got some help from it, but I just felt like
Hmm.
I just wasn't doing it right. I don't think I had like the right. I just didn't have the right method. I was just doing it wrong.
Yeah.
But I still felt it. I still felt good and stuff, and I felt that something like that was working. Um, there was something that you said earlier about oh yeah, frequencies. So when it comes to that, you say frequencies. Do you think podcasting is affecting the frequency of humanity? Because I've been thinking about that. Like, if
Yeah.
we're trying to be more positive, if we're trying to put now like better vibes, like that's not just some woo woo thing to me. Like that is a physical thing that happens from your heart, from like our hearts have like a magnetic field, and like shit's
Yeah.
always vibrating. I almost want to believe that podcasting is raising the vibration of people and like the way we think. Like, do you think that's a reality?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think you're spot on. So I believe that we are, uh, let's say, spirit having a human experience. So we are all the same thing. You and I, everybody's listening. This camera, everything here is the same thing. The all, God, the universe, whatever you want to call it. This humongous, unbelievable thing that we cannot comprehend, and we instantiate into a you and a me and everything that you can conceive of that exists. That's what I believe. Now I kind of know. I can't prove it, of course, but that's just what I believe. I choose to believe that. It's helpful for me. Uh, yeah, and so in that sense, we are obviously all the same, but we are all having different experiences, right? So there are people right now that are hurting, that are dying. There are people right now that are killing those people that are dying. There are people that we perceive as evil. There are people that we perceive as extremely good, and everything in between. Although those are just perceptions and values that we give to it, because I think everything that happens is actually neutral and is just for our experience. However, uh, you can make it as you wish, I think. So you can influence your own life and the rest of the world, as I do think that we probably make the world literally, like we create it into being. Like it's probably not here. It's not real, and science is catching up on that actually, which is very interesting. Uh, but in that sense, if we are doing that, the frequency where we vibe on, as in, you know, are you stressed or are you depressed or are you happy or do you have love in your heart, obviously then reflects in the world that you create in it. And so whatever you consume, podcasts, media, uh, has direct influence on that, I think. So if I listen to your podcast, which is about positivity and raising up and looking at the broader picture instead of telling me all the things that I need to be afraid of,
Yeah.
that's going to raise my spirits and thus the world around me as well, which I create together with everybody else like you.
Mm.
So, yeah, definitely. So, I think creating things like a podcast is extremely powerful and is one of the reasons why you're here instantiated as Cole. I think. So keep doing that
Yeah.
if it still serves your spirit, of course.
Hmm. I'm obsessed with podcasting. I love podcasting. My first podcast was in 2016. I did the Cole McCormick show, and that was just a little random thing I did. I think I might have been inspired by there's this guy online named Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. Yeah. I fell down. I was watching all of his videos in 2016, and I was like, I'm gonna be a brand. I'm gonna do a podcast. I'm gonna do all this. And that was like when I first discovered podcasting, and I realized that I loved it. Like just, and even though that show ended, like inside of me, I knew that podcasting is legit. Like for my own soul, like that's always been on my heart. Like even from like the first, I don't have like an exact memory, but from the first few episodes, from the first moments of me talking into the microphone and figuring out, I think I was uploading to SoundCloud and like trying to understand like all that situation, like what is audio, what is an RSS, how do I get it on Apple, all this. I'm like, I love this. I love it. This is so cool. This is so fun. And I feel like I can really express myself. So, and podcasting is neutral, you know, just like anything else. You know, if we are a spirit having a human experience, and the way we see the world is because of how we choose to see the world, then let's like I want to use podcasting to make a better world, and I want people to listen to more positive podcasts because, you know, like there's all these like complaining podcasts, you know, like the Tim Pool podcast. I feel like that's just like bagging on everyone, you know, like it's like I get it. Like there's issues in the world, like there's like cultural problems and all this stuff, but it's like, why are we judging these people? Why are we judging the people doing wrong? Let's bring them to our side. Let's try to give them more information. Cause like I remember it was like before the pandemic. In America, you know, it was just right before the pandemic in America, like the Trump's first 4 years, there's all this talk about censorship and misinformation and hate speech. And I remember Joe Rogan talking about how the solution to hate speech is more speech. And I remember agreeing with that. I was like, that's really real. And that's sort of like been like a saving grace for myself. So I don't heavily lean into judgment, or I can at least be aware of when I'm judging something that I don't agree with or something, you know, just try to, it's really open up. Like podcasting has shown me that you just got to talk to people. Like if you just have a discussion, you know, if you're to just allow the other person to speak, maybe you can actually understand them. And maybe you can give them a little sliver of information that changes their entire thing. You know, you don't need to, if you're trying to change a person's mind, you don't need to beat them over the head with a hammer. You know, you need to give them an invitation to something. You need to make them think about a question that they can actually be curious about. So hopefully podcasting does that, man. I just want podcasting to save the world, ultimately.
Yeah. And I think you hit the hammer on the head there, as in, you know, people always think that they need to be like the #1 podcaster or have a huge audience or like 1 million downloads or something like that. But you really don't. It all depends on your goals, right? So if you're trying to inspire people or teach people something, you just need one person, right, to just listen to one sentence that they pick out of your thing and be inspired and do something else with their day or life or whatever, you know. It can be as small as that. But so in that sense, you can easily set yourself up for success, right? If you just reframe that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, podcasting is really, really powerful. I think so.
In the beginning, you mentioned you had a mushroom experience. Can you go into that a little bit? When was that, and what came from that? Is that really what led to all your thoughts here right now?
Yeah. So no, this has been brewing for years. I keep baking as is, and I'm sure that in 5 years from now, I'm a completely different person than who I am now. At least I hope so. But yeah, so I had this QHHT session. I think it's 2 years ago now, maybe. Yeah, 2 years ago, I think. I'm not sure. You know, time is a blur, especially with this whole Corona crap in between.
I
Oh,
know, dude.
maybe you need to cut that out, otherwise this gets all censored.
No way, dude. Podcasting 2.0, dude. We're free, dude. Speak it.
That's it. That's it. But you're on YouTube, right?
Yeah,
So
you're right.
be careful with that. And you know, in that, what they do during that hypnosis session is also record your audio. So I basically wasn't there. I have no recollection of what I said. I just listened back to the audio. And what happens is you go through these past lives, which I think now are not per se past lives, but are simultaneous lives, as I think time is happening all at once. And it's just a construct of our instantiation here as 3D humans, that we need time in order to exist and do stuff. However, you just go through those things, through a couple of them with significant events. And after that, your, what's it called? Well, your higher self is being called to, you know, answer questions that you write beforehand. And your higher self then shows you those past lives because they are relevant to the session and to your life right now to learn some lessons. Because as I learned, before we instantiate here from spirit, we make an agreement on spirit side, as in, all right, I'm going to go into earth now, and I'm going to try to do this there. You know, this and this my dad, and this my mom, and this the whole configuration. And I'm probably going to meet that person at some point for something. And all right, wish me luck, because hey, there's free will and stuff. So try to learn something, try to experience something. And so you do have kind of a purpose that is, let's say, predestined. But I do think that the future is never written, as in we all determine what we do. That's that's fun of the game, basically, right? You can do whatever you want, which might mean that you come back again to do this again if you haven't learned your lesson. But that's fine, because everything is infinite anyways. So after that, I learned a lot more about my purpose, which is to continue learning and teaching. Learn, teach. That's basically the main thing. And there were a couple other things. And then I wanted to, you know, I went skeptical for a while. I was like, geez, was I just making all that stuff up or something? Or did she just, you know, pry that out of me somehow? Or was I just, I don't know, was completely sober during that hypnosis session. I was like, come on, this is bullshit. So I thought, all right, I always wanted to do, in that session also came forth that I needed to learn from plant medicines. So, and I had that on my list for quite a while, but I was always scared, you know, scared to lose control and to, I don't know what's going to happen. Am I going to be sick or something, or, you know, leave my body somehow? Sounds all pretty crazy, but I heard a lot, for instance, on Joe Rogan. He also talks about these experiences and DMT and stuff. I'm super interested. And so I think 6 months after that or something, after that hypnosis session, I tried it. I booked with a sitter, like a professional sitter. They had this whole ritual with a huge dose of psilocybin mushrooms in a nice setting, in a nice room, with these kind of hippie-pippy people, which were very loving and very accepting. Yeah, and I just went under, and it was awesome. It confirmed everything that I thought I knew already about what spirit was. And of course, yes, we can say, well, that's just your brain, you know, confirmation bias and all that type of stuff. Sure. But you weren't there, man. I was, and I believe what I saw. So it is indescribable. You've also done a couple of those sessions, right?
Yeah, I've done my experience with mushrooms. My first time doing them was in May 2017, and I didn't go into any like official schooling or group or anything. Like I really just went running with scissors with it. Just I was working at a pizza shop, and I was listening to Joe Rogan. A similar story, him talking about health and mushrooms and just doing that, how it changes your perspective. And I had already experimented with smoking weed, so maybe weed was the gateway for me. But When you're at the pizza shop, I'm not sure if you've worked at a restaurant, but the drug culture is it's pretty fluid in the kitchen.
Yep.
So I was like, hey, dude, where can I get mushrooms? And a buddy of mine, he was like, I got you. And he gave them to me. And that first experience, opened up everything for me. I was going through that was right after high school. So I graduated high school in 2015, and I was going through a pretty long bout of depression about like 2 years, maybe 2 or 3 years. I think the whole thing lasted 4 years. And just like this whole, I was depressed about, I don't know, just like my youth, and like I had lost friends. There was a big falling out with me and a really core group of friends. And when I did the mushrooms, I was in my backyard. It was nighttime, and which maybe isn't like the best scenario for a lot of people, but I mean, it's how I did it. And I was able to see, like I saw like a grid of light, and I forget everything I saw, but I just remember feeling like so hopeful and happy. And I was like, wow, so this is like, there's a different way to see it. There's a different way to feel it. There's a different way. And that inspired me that was actually the catapult that brought me out of my depression, because it was actually the mushrooms that inspired me to lean into my body and to get healthy and to experiment with my body. And that led me to, because I also gained a bunch of weight during the depression, and then I start doing keto, and I start swimming, and I start working out more, and I just had this sense, like there's always this like the post mushroom like feeling. There's like this like halo effect. There's this glow that you have. Some people feel it a few days afterwards and it goes away, but after that first time, I felt like I had that post mushroom glow for a very long time, and I was able to I was swimming every single day. I was eating healthy every single day. I got my own little personal routine. I did something specific by myself on Thursdays. I was able to really hone in on what I wanted my world to be and how I wanted to live and think, and just opened me up, man. So like, that's powerful that you had that too, dude. Like, what was that like growing up? Like, did your parents tell you to not do drugs, or were they hippies themselves? What was that like?
Yeah, no, definitely. So growing up in the Netherlands, weed is very prevalent here, right? And I'm 41, right? 41. I'm 40 actually still.
There we go.
Jeez,
Whoa.
I feel older. So I grew up when it was, people smoked a lot more. My parents smoked always, just regular cigarettes, right? They even smoked in the car. Those were the times where you could smoke in an airplane and in a restaurant, all that type of stuff. It's nuts if you think about it now.
Yeah.
So that quickly rubbed off on me as well in my teens. And I started smoking, so regular cigarettes. And then very easily, I also, experimented with weed there because, here in the Netherlands, it's everywhere. But that was really, really frowned upon by my parents. They did not like drugs at all. No, they were very strict with that.
Wow.
So, yeah. Now that I did this, I can explain it and they understand that this is very different than drugs, right?
Mm-hmm.
People do use it as drugs, but that's to me, that's misuse of this plant medicine, which it really is. So this isn't drugs. It's very different.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it was pretty strict growing up.
Right.
But, yeah, things change.
That's a lot of people, because I grew up Christian and my parents were always just like, no drugs, like don't do this. Like they weren't like, they never scared me. They never like did anything to like really like fear porn anything, but it was clear. It was a clear stance like, hey, don't do drugs. And when they found out that I did,
they just want you to,
yeah,
they just want you to not die, right? And not be a junkie. That's their fear, of course. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that actually I've been, like within my own family, I think I've been able to sort of break that barrier too, because the last, what's it been, 6 years since I did that, I've been trying my best to just be more honest with my experiences and trying to talk to just to tell my parents, like, this past summer, I told him, hey, like I'm probably gonna do like a mushroom trip just to deal with dad's cancer. I'm just gonna like just figure things out. And I think when it like I think when there's like a heavier crisis, people are more willing to be open to a solution, to a radical solution. And I feel like a part of my journey in my own family has just been try to just break that boundary, try to make these plant medicines a bit more normal. And I don't really have like a full-fledged thought on that, but I feel like that's been my path, and hopefully that's a part of your path as well, just opening your parents up to that. Because I mean,
No, that's never going to happen. No, no, that's absolutely never going to happen. No, that's. I find that that's even with health stuff, right? I know a lot now. I even did a bachelor degree medicine type of thing to learn more. That's all mainstream medicine, but still, you learn anatomy and stuff like that. But I cannot convince them of anything. Like, hey, maybe you should not eat that margarine or something, because look at what that actually is. It has a million ingredients in it. It sucks.
Yeah,
I can explain why, but they're obviously not open to that because they're still alive, they're doing their thing, and they've been doing this for decades. So people don't change. You can't change people. I find, at least I can't. They will change when they are ready for it. And sometimes you think, well, now you're ready, right? You're dying or something. But that might not be enough, even for some people. And that's fine too. It's their journey. And that is, to me, that has been very difficult to accept sometimes. That it's their journey, and they change in their own time. All you can do is just set the right, show them the way, and not by telling them all the information, because they're really not interested in that. You can put it somewhere, like in a podcast or something, and they will find it when they're ready. But if you keep slamming them with it, they're like, ugh, yes, I don't want that.
Yeah, I had that similar experience, because I remember. So my dad got diagnosed in June, and I think my mushroom trip was in like July or August, and I remember the weeks prior to the mushroom trip, I just had all this anxiety, not just tied to the mortality of cancer, but just about like I want to do everything possible that I can to help my dad. I'm trying to give him everything I have, because I feel I have the health information, I have plant medicine information and all this stuff, and I was like, Dad, I will move to help you. I will do anything possible to help you out. And when I was on the mushroom, this image of like, I just saw my dad on a path, just like a normal like park path with like some grass and flowers, and I was like, the thing that came to me was, this is his path to walk. And it was almost like I saw him on his like physical like sidewalk path, and I was like I was in the distance, and I was able to see him. I was like, wow, so I really can't help him walk. I'm not like there's nothing I can do, even though like I just need to accept that he's over there and he's looking at what he's looking at, and he's walking his walk, and that's all I can do is just encourage him. All I can do is just love him. All I can do is just be there for him. And so that's a big lesson too. Just letting people be them, letting people walk their own path. Like, it's difficult, and it's also it makes me think about what you said earlier about everything being neutral. I might have a negative emotion about a certain food my family eats, or a certain pattern someone has, but then like if I were to remind myself like, it's neutral. They are on their path, like that can sort of help me, because that takes away judgment, because I don't want to judge my dad for not doing something that I think he should be doing, even though he's doing everything he can. I don't want to judge my sisters. I don't want to judge these people. It's like sometimes I feel like there's this like dark side of being awakened and like knowing information. Like you can almost like weaponize that. You can almost weaponize the things that you know to be true, and you can almost like push people down with that. Like it's almost like it's like when a person like berates someone for smoking cigarettes, like, I can't believe you fucking smoke. I can't believe you do this. It's like, why are you doing that? Like the guy's just on his break. Like the guy's just trying to relax. Like exactly. If you don't want to stand by him, don't stand by him. Like that's a totally different thing, you know? And it's like, don't you know it's going to give you cancer? Don't you know it's going to kill you? It's like, life's going to kill me. You know, just let me let me be here. And so that's been like a huge thing. That's been a huge lesson of me. And I try to put that in podcasting. I try to just, that's like one of my main philosophies, just like, I don't want to judge, try to figure out a better way to talk, figure out a better way to think about these problems and to think about unhealthiness, whatever that may be. And, you know, I'm not even the healthiest myself. You know, there's people in my life who might judge me for smoking weed or might be doing something weird. You know, I know vegans who say that I shouldn't be eating a lot of meat, but I eat a bunch of meat. Yeah. So it's all like moving together. You know, it's like a yin yang thing. You know, you just got to learn from all these different energies. It's very complicated.
It is. And I think it's very difficult if you wake up, right? I know we keep using this very big word, awakening and stuff, but it's just becoming more aware of things, right? More aware of yourself, more aware about the universe and your place in it. Zooming out, basically. I think you go through stages. There's this, I'm not sure who the author is. I have it hanging here. But the chart of the levels of consciousness. There's a book about that.
Wait, grab that.
With that.
Grab that right now, please. Right. Folks, we are getting an exclusive book review from Barry. This is phenomenal stuff. I'm about to buy this book.
Let's see what this guy's... Oh yeah, Dr. Hawkins. That's him. He created this map of consciousness that I'm now showing on screen a little bit. You probably can't read it.
I see
but
it,
anyways, it's frequency based. There's this book, The Map of Consciousness. He's a bit dodgy because he says that he has this method to be able to calibrate people to see what type of frequency you are. Now, sure, believe that or not, it sounds a bit crazy, but I do believe that there's a frequency and that determines your being and the world around you, how you perceive it, right? And perhaps also how others perceive that part of the world that you create for them or together with them. And this goes from all the way down in despair and being vindictive, uncaring, punitive, denying, vengeful. This goes up, indifferent, permitting. And then in the middle, where you start to wake up, you have courage, affirmation, and then you start to be a bit sciencey, right? You start to understand the world around you in terms of these are the laws of the universe that we create for ourselves, physics, stuff like that. But then you see past that at some point. And then you see, oh, maybe maybe it's a lot bigger. But in between there, I think that's where the difficulty lies. Because you know enough that you know that the world is corrupt and that lots of people aren't aware, and that if they might be aware, they could make better choices with food, with finance, with all sorts of stuff, and you want to help them there. But you don't know enough to know that you shouldn't be thinking like that.
Mm-hmm.
As in, if you were to go higher, and then you come to the realization that everything is the same. There is no good or bad. Like if you look at a magnet, for instance, a magnet has a positive side and a negative side, right? But it's the same thing. A magnet, it's just one magnet, right? It's all the same thing. The positive side is needed for the negative side. It is one and the same thing. It cannot exist without the other. So it's not a bad or a good thing. It's just things playing out for their experience and perhaps also your experience. And so until you come to that level where you become so neutral, let's say, with unconditional love for everything, it's very difficult to not judge and try to help everybody. So it's a very frustrating place to be in that space.
Yeah. It definitely is, dude.
Yeah.
It's just like practice, right? Like just taking deep breaths, trying to reminding yourself not to judge or reminding yourself to love. That's been something that I've been working on. The biggest thing that helped me from the Joe Dispenza meditations was just focusing on opening my heart. I sort of, like, whenever I feel stressed, I try to close my eyes and think about like my heart literally opening up, like more blood flowing through my heart. And when I think about that, like I feel like it happens, and I'm able to calm down. I'm able to just take a breath of something. So like that's powerful, dude. Like that's really cool. What's the book called again?
A map of consciousness.
Map of Consciousness. All right, I'll look that up because I'm interested. I'm interested in all that stuff.
Yeah. So how is your dad doing? Is he open to healing?
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, he's healing right now. What we got some scans from the doctors, and his tumors are shrinking. So that's
Awesome.
incredible news, and that's why I even brought it up because it's like a hopeful story. Just 4 months, 4 or 5 months on chemo and radiation, and his tumors are shrinking, which is insane. And he was open. As soon as he told me, I went into like the spiritual. I was like, Dad, this is about your mindset. This is about the trauma that you went through, or this is about your emotions. Like, my dad was obese for a couple decades. He's always been overweight. And so I told him, like, physically, we know how this came about. You were overweight for too long, and you were eating very badly. And the diet, like that, we just need to change the diet. But bigger picture, Dad, you got to focus on your emotions. You got to focus on your mindset. You got to focus on the love. You got to focus on gratefulness and gratitude. And I told him all this in June, and that's like where my anxiety went. I'm like, I have all this information about gratefulness. You need to be grateful now. Like you need, like I'm trying to cast a spell on him, you know? And I wasn't sure if he was open to that because him and I, you know, even though my family's Christian and I grew up in church, it was, and my dad even prayed over me when I was younger, and prayer has never been weird. But at the same time, like talking about spirituality or like your own personal spirit, like it was never really discussed in the world that I grew up in. And it's only been since I moved out of my parents' houses when I've been open to these like bigger consciousness ideas, bigger soul ideas. And now here's a moment where I can actually share this information with my dad, and he was open to it. And he, at least he was open to the diet. You know, he changed his diet. He was open to certain mushrooms, not psychedelic, but just I feel as though me being open with my psychedelic mushrooms allowed him to be open to the idea of any mushroom. And there's incredible information about the turkey tail species of that having incredible effects on cancer. Yeah, Paul Stamets. I gave my dad Paul Stamets information, and he leaned into that. He has turkey tail. He's just trying to take all the right plants to help you de-inflame your liver. You know, just trying to help the liver functions and stuff like that. So he's been more open to that. And the thing that really opened my eyes to see hope, there was, I don't remember the month. Oh, I think it might have been September. He was getting some sort of a scan. I think he was getting an MRI scan. And he told me that during it, he was just there sitting, his eyes were closed, just being still. And he was thinking about the doctors, and he was thinking about the family. And he was just thinking about how grateful he is for his family to come together like we did. Like all my sisters, like my entire family was just very supportive, very loving. Like we're in this together. He was grateful for the doctors for being so diligent and being so honest. Like every aspect of this crisis, he was able to see a reason to be grateful. And he told me in the middle of the MRI machine, he's like tearing up and he's like crying just because of the gratefulness, you know, not because of anything else. He was just happy about that. And so he's doing well, man. Like he's doing well. And he just made a post a few days ago just talking about how the path to beating this is his attitude, is his diet, it is his support system. And all those things affect his spirit, and all those things affect his biology. And so maybe he might have had an inclination about that when he was younger. You know, he's just a guy who grew up in the 80s and 90s. You know, he's just a guy. And he's got this weird hippie son telling him about spirit and all this consciousness stuff. And I think he's healing. Like I really believe that he has that better mindset. And I mean, selfishly, I want him to be like an example for other people to see how they can get through their illness and their diseases, because it's a big deal. Like we need more survival stories. You know, it's always a positive thing when someone survives a trauma, you know? So let's, but the news, you know, all the books and all the stories, you know, there's always Hollywood is always going to make the slave movie. You know, they're never going to make the guy who's just like where's like if they want to tell a story about a black person, they're usually going to tell a slave story. They're never going to tell the story of the mom just working and just trying to get her family together or something like that. Like it's never a common thing. The media, they always want to push the negative stuff, and they want you to like feel the trauma even more. And so it's just like, where are the survival? Where is the life? And selfishly, I want my dad to be that story. I want my dad to be able to say that he beat cancer, and he told me that himself. He told me, he goes, Cole, I just want to be in a place where I can say I kicked cancer's ass. I was like, let's go, Dad. Let's go. Let's do it. And so, like, long story short, that's where he's at, man. He's working on his mindset.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, that sounds like he's getting into a better place as well, mentally, spiritually as well.
Yeah.
And that will probably also strengthen your bond with him as well.
Yeah,
Which
that's what I want.
probably ultimately this will be a positive experience, maybe.
Yes, I believe it's already been a positive experience. I mean, it's Christmas. You know, I feel like Christmas came early. You know, it's like his legions are shrinking. So like, I don't care about December 25th. I care about when he told me. I care about the moment when he talks to me. I try to answer his phone call whenever he calls me. You know, it's like, and throughout this, like, my family is funny because my family has a lot of synchronicities between each other. There's always some, it always seems like right when I clock out of work and I'm walking to my car, my dad calls me. Or like, I'm literally like, I'm always wrapping something up, or like I'm about to begin something, but I have like 5 minutes, and my mom just calls me out of the blue, and we're able to have like a nice discussion. It's like, we never really plan on when we're going to talk, but it does feel like my family, like we know when we need to talk to each other. We know when we need to give someone the love. You know, it's just, that's something that's some sort of intelligence in my own family. But it's powerful, dude. It's been a journey.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, man.
that's great to hear. I hope he'll be fine.
He will. I believe it. I believe it. So what else do you want to talk about? We touched on a lot of different topics. Do you want to focus on anything else pertaining to Podhome, pertaining to podcasting? Like, I know you want to be as modern as possible forever, but what are your, like, do you have any like specific goals in mind with Podhome? Like, and I'm definitely going to help you out. I'm definitely advertising it. I know you have the affiliate link, which is really interesting. I've never leaned into doing anything with an affiliate link, so I'm definitely going to be promoting that. Yeah. What are your like other specific goals with Podhome?
Yeah, so I am now one of a handful of international podcast hosting companies. All of them, or most of them, have offices, and lots of people work in there, typing away all day to make something. I don't have that yet, which is good because that means my costs are low. I do hire freelancers here and there for sport because I can't do 24-hour sport myself. Of course, I don't want to do that. And that helps. But still, I want to expand slowly, which is already happening, which is great because then I can keep an eye on how the servers are doing and scale them up where needed and change things where needed, and just keep adding things, right? So because I started from scratch, which means that I built a greenfield. That's what that's called in software development. I don't have any legacy code or anything to support, which means I can move very fast for now. Obviously, in a couple of years, that will be a bit slower because then things will be kludgy and, oh, if I need to change this, and oh shit, then this thing is going to fall over, or we need to redo that thing. But for now, this works well. Architecture works well. And so I can move fast. So for instance, this week, I rolled out video clips. So you can already create clips, like audio clips. And then that's a soundbite tag for Podcast 2.0. And now from that audio clip, you can now also create a video. And that uses your artwork or artwork that you upload. And you can have a couple more settings like fonts and stuff. But I want to keep building things like that that take away from your workflow, right? So if you're a podcaster, you upload your thing, you want to create transcripts and all that type of stuff. You want to create stuff that you use to promote on social media. You want to do all of that in the same place, right? You don't want to have to go to a third-party tool or pay for anything else. So I want to keep adding things like that. So next year, I'm going to add at least a couple of the following and probably way more. But a different monetization feature. So currently we do support value for value. And that means that people in a modern podcasting app, and you should do that right now, go on it, boost, and stream sats. That works. But it's very niche because that's for people that are not afraid of crypto. And normal people are like, oh, there's a Bitcoin. Oh, geez, that's a scam. I don't want to be scammed. So I want to be able to enable podcasters to just say, all right, enable this support page for me. It's like a companion thing on your Podhome website. People can go there, like Americaplus/support or something. We'll figure out what that is. And then people can go there and pay with fiat money. They can just say, you know, here's $5 or here's $5 every month or something or more. And then I want to try to keep my cut as minimal as possible. I just need to pay, you know, credit card fees and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So that will make it much easier for podcasters to get support and interaction. And, you know, you're not going to get rich at that probably, but it's a little bits, and it also motivates to keep going. So that's one thing. Another motivating thing will be that we're going to be rolling out an experience and rewards and achievement system. So you're doing stuff, right? You're creating episodes, you're publishing episodes, and each time you do something positive for podcasting land and for the world, we give you a reward. You earn experience until you become, we have to come up with the term, the grandmaster of podcasting or something. And every level that you earn something cool. And I will do this also for existing things. So for instance, you just had your 100th episode, which is freaking awesome. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And when something awesome like that happens, you get a reward. Like, for instance, a month free of Podhome, or a couple of coupons that you can give away to your friends. And they can also use Podhome, stuff like that. So you'll be able to earn experience and achievements and accompanying rewards with that. So those are two things. And what I also really want to do is add video. So right now you just upload an audio file and then you publish that, right, to Apple Podcasts, to Podcast Index. But what I want to do is that you just upload your video. I extract the audio as well, so that goes to Apple Podcasts and all that type of stuff for audio people. And the video you can then publish to YouTube, Rumble, wherever you want to do that. And then we can also easily use that to create video clips of the actual video interview, right? Not everybody does video, but, you know, I do want to support it because especially the younger generation of podcasts do want to use that. And I think it does add a lot of context. And some of the modern podcast apps do now also support video in an alternate feed. So people can choose to just put that on. And I know, you know, typically when you listen to podcasts, you're not watching a video and definitely not on your screen. But what people usually do is they just put it on somewhere. You know, you put your phone somewhere. You just go do something else. And then sometimes you hear something interesting. You just look, oh, what's that guy saying? Oh, all right. Okay. And then you go on with your day. So that's also something that I want to support. And then also a couple more podcasting 2.0 things, like probably the live tag I want to support somehow, so that I want to do a live show. I don't know why. I just want to do it. Like maybe with some music or something. I think it's pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
Lots of stuff.
That's a lot of ideas. I mean, the podcasting. Oh, no. Go on.
Yeah, so no, it's lots of stuff, and obviously, just growing the business,
Mhm.
onboarding more folks, growing support, growing blogs and stuff, and unfortunately, that also means marketing and stuff, which
Yeah.
I will probably hire somebody for because I hate that, and I do not want to make a Facebook account. I just don't.
Don't, dude. Don't, bro.
No,
Don't go to Facebook. Unnecessary. That's interesting that you
no,
bring up video. So you want to host the video? Is that the goal? Because I was listening
yeah,
to Adam Curry just like a week ago, and they were discussing a situation where the podcaster can put a YouTube link that is their podcast video. They can put the YouTube link in a feed, and that can somehow be accessed by the podcast. But I don't know anything about that. Have you heard about this? Do you know? I think I saw there's
yeah.
another podcast app called Pod Fans. I know Pod
Yes.
Fans just updated that. What is that? Is that something that you'll be doing, or is that different from
No.
what your vision is?
Th- yeah, so that's different. So I was actually talking to Sam Sethi from Podfans earlier today, and he also explained this to me. So what they enable is in Podfans, which is a podcast listening app, you can go in as a podcast creator, as you, for instance, and you say, all right, I have this audio thing uploaded, and here's the accompanying YouTube video. So that helps listeners. They can then switch between video and audio, which is a cool way. And that is kind of because hosts like me do not support hosting video yet. And that's why they have to go to YouTube. So that is a middle solution that they use there. And I like that. But I don't like that you have to rely on a platform that is censored because YouTube sucks.
Yeah.
I had Improving Barry on YouTube, which was about health. I got canceled quickly enough when I said that saturated fat does not cause heart disease, for instance. And
Wow.
I think it was in November this year or something, or a month before. They have deepened their partnership with the WHO and the NATO to combat mis and disinformation, all for our safety, of course. And now every alternative health information on YouTube that does not conform to WHO narrative doesn't have to be false. Just if they think it's not cool, then that will not per se be deleted, but at least be de-algoed. So, you won't see it anywhere. It will just be shadow banned, basically, which
Mhm.
is freaking ridiculous. So platforms like that, I do not want to rely on because they suck.
Yeah. That
So
makes sense.
I want to do that myself. Yeah.
That's a lot of money, yeah. Because I thought the reason why hosting companies didn't support it was just because of like the space, and the reason why YouTube is because they have the money to build the space to host it. So is that going to be a lot of
Yeah.
work on your end?
Space does cost money.
Yeah.
Yes, the storage costs money, but storage is pretty cheap. And fortunately, I am using a service that does not. It doesn't cost me money to stream bandwidth to people. So egress bandwidth, and that is probably the biggest cost for most hosting companies. I do not pay that.
Wow. And is that a
And
different service? What is that? That's really cool.
well, it's if you Google it, you can find it. I'm not going to tell everybody right now because then
Okay.
I lose my competitive edge.
Okay.
No, it's very simple. Lots of people use it. It is. I use Cloudflare like everybody else,
Okay.
but I store all the stuff in Cloudflare R2 buckets, which is very similar to AWS S3 buckets. So that's just a bucket where you put lots of data in, unstructured data like videos or text or audio files or something, and they do not charge egress data. So that's awesome.
Wow.
Also, something did not exist a year ago, not in this form at least. So it's all, synchronicity,
Yeah.
which is great.
So that's powerful. So the answers are coming up. Like what was once a problem
Yeah.
last year is literally not a problem. That's
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
Doesn't exist. Yeah.
So Barry, it's been like an hour and a half, dude. You want to
Oh, dude. Yeah.
say anything else? Is there anything else you want to say, or just? I mean, this is America Plus, dude. Like, what else? What other innovation? Whatever positivity do you have, man? Like, because we can wrap this up if you want. We can keep talking. Like, what's the vibe?
Yeah. Yeah. No. So it's like it's 9:30 p.m. here.
Oh, it's
So
bedtime.
let's Well, almost. Let's start to wrap it up. But I do want to say, um, there's so much stuff out there, right? Negativity out in the world. Don't turn on the news, obviously, but if you would, you know, there's so much crap, so much fear. The world's gonna end next year. Cyber attack. I don't know what all sorts of shit's gonna happen. However, if you look out your window right now, for most people, if you live in a country that's not at war, you're probably fine, right? Everything is probably fine, right? Maybe you're not rich or something, but still, everything is okay. It's okay. You're gonna get through this. You're gonna get to tomorrow. The, all that stuff that they're talking about, all those the elite that are ruling us, and all this shit that's gonna happen. It's not right now, at least, right?
Yeah.
So what? And if so, there's nothing you can do, probably. And and then what? Who cares? Just live your life. So,
Hmm.
and I know it's difficult. It's very difficult. It's been difficult for me as well. But don't try to think about that type of stuff, right? Because it's not really happening right now. If you look out your window, right, you're fine. Go outside, go do something fun. So enjoy the moment. Try not to live in the future because it doesn't exist, right? Try to live now.
I love that.
And, and of course, go to the show notes right now. Click on the affiliate link
Yes.
for Podhome and sign up, because then Cole gets some money as well.
Yeah, man. Let's do that. I love that affiliate because I actually want to promote, promote podcasts. I want to try to get people encouraged to like lean into an RSS feed, to lean into podcasting, because it's just powerful, dude. It's just powerful. If someone can just express themselves with their own voice, and they can link up any song, and they can play whatever song, and they can then have that support go to the artist and go to them, like, that's powerful, dude. Oh, by the way, I am giving you a split on the show, so we'll talk about that later, but I just want to let that clearly, you're definitely getting a split on the show. But yeah, man, that's some powerful stuff, dude. Oh, you
play a song?
Not right now, but yes, I'll play a song. I don't have that all set up right now, but I will be playing a song at the end of the episode. I'm not sure which song yet, but it'll happen. Maybe you should send me the song that you want. Or if you've been listening to any V for V music, give me that recommendation, and I'll definitely play that.
Ooh, yeah.
Right on, dude.
I probably have one. Yeah, I'll send you.
Yeah, man. Please.
Cool.
Well, Barry, this has been really awesome, dude. This has been really fun, really peaceful. So thank you so much for being willing to talk to me. Thank you for innovating with Podhome. Like, you're a powerful human, dude. Like, you're doing good stuff.
You too, man. Just keep on going. Keep being positive, and really, good luck with your dad. I'm sure he will be fine. Everything will be okay.
Thank you,
man.
man.
Super much for having me on, man.
Yeah, man. Of course. Anytime, dude.
All right.
Right on. Dope, bro.
All right.